Hello everyone, hope you're having a great week. I was home today, so I was able to get some stuff done around the house, including a few videos, some that you'll be seeing in future weeks as I film a handful today. And I was able to go to Lowe's, buy a new grill, and put that together for the patio out back. It was a huge pain in the butt. It was like the curse of the most difficult IKEA furniture. It was not the experience that I had before with helping with a grill, and yeah, that thing took forever, and I swear someone was from Mars that created those instructions. That huge pain in the butt this morning, but I got that done. I built the grill and put it out back and tested it, and everything's working fine. And I also fixed an issue with my LaserDisc player. I was watching last night my latest LaserDisc find, which we'll talk about in a second here, and there was this loud squeaking noise. Happened just like right after the disc started, a few seconds in, and it went away. Around the 3-minute mark, it was a little loud, just kind of squeal, and then around maybe the 5-minute mark, and it just every once in a while it was this kind of metallic squeal, and it was out of nowhere. I've just been watching LaserDisc the previous night. I was watching Cat People the night before, the 80s remake, and no issue, and everything was playing perfectly. Like, there was not a single issue aside from this random squeak every once in a while. Everything else was working perfectly, smoothly, everything was playing fine. So yeah, I went on LaserDisc forum on Facebook and asking around, saying, what the heck do you think this is? Because there's no playback issue or anything. It's just this weird squeal every once in a while. And I thought maybe re-greasing something, whatever, but I wanted to check and see if anyone had any insight, and that's all that it was, is that I got some lithium grease and opened up the player, and I just kind of cleaned it out from any dust accumulation over the years, anything like that while I was in there, and then all it seems to be is that the little ball bearings in the upper clamp needed to be cleaned off and re-greased, and then I watched a disc for about 40 minutes. I watched some Jetsons cartoons on LaserDisc, and it was no issue throughout the whole thing. Took it out and tried another disc, and just kind of get a feel. Hopefully it wasn't a fluke. And so far I've had no problems, so I think that's what it is. I think it just needed to be cleaned and re-greased, and something simple, which is nice. So I'm able to, later today, I'm going to sit down and watch, once I have a little more time, get some more stuff done here, Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon. This is my latest LaserDisc pickup, the widescreen edition. I've always loved this cover. It's the same, it's on my DVD edition as well. I was very excited to get this because this is definitely my favorite Bruce Lee movie, and because once that Criterion collection hits, I'll be completely done with Bruce Lee. I'll have whatever I want from his catalog. So I was very happy to grab this because this is definitely the film of his that I wanted to have on my favorite format, LaserDisc. And I'll put a picture here of the Criterion set. If you haven't seen anything about it, it looks awesome. Check it out. I think it's going to be a nice collection of his movies, so I'm very excited about that, and about being done with another actor. That'll be good. And we have a couple of new Blu-ray and then a DVD pickup, and I'll start with probably my favorite of the bunch, not one Amanda would sit and watch with me, but another from the Warner Archive collection. I pre-ordered this, so I got it right when it came out. But we have Jane Fonda in Sunday in New York. And this is just the type of movie that I just love to put on. It's just the kind of thing that I don't have to be in a particular mood. I have to be in a certain mood for, say, a horror or a thriller or some types of action movies. I have to be in a particular mood to decide what I want to watch, but I'm never not in the mood for just a light romantic comedy, especially if it's older, older Technicolor, 50s and 60s, like that era, that type of movie. I will never be in a mood where I don't want to watch that. That's just the type of thing that I'm always going to want to watch. I really enjoyed this. It reminded me somewhat of another Jane Fonda picture that's based off a play, Barefoot in the Park. That's better, definitely funnier overall, but this was a little more subdued, but it was really good. I really just had a fun time. That's all I was looking for from this type of thing. Was just a fun time. I love the kind of the fluffy romantic elements of it. Jane Fonda, her character comes to visit her brother, who is a pilot in New York one weekend, and wants to stay for a little while, and is having a little bit of a life crisis, especially around sexuality and relationships between men and women, and she has a chance meeting on a bus that leads to the romantic comedy elements eventually culminating in a case of mistaken identity, and that just leads to a little bit more of a screwball element to some of the comedy towards the end of the film. It was just great fun, and that's all I wanted from this, was just pure, simple, romantic fun in brilliant Technicolor with Jane Fonda, and that's exactly what I got. The next one here, I have been actually watching some Disney Plus lately. I know, digital streaming, not physical, but we don't have many of the Marvel movies yet, and I really wanted to catch up on those. I had not been watching them. I think the last one that I saw was the first Avengers, the Joss Whedon one, in theaters. I was, at that point, 13 movies behind, who knows. I just wasn't, it's not my favorite type of movie, so I wasn't going to theaters and seeing them. We've been slowly picking up a few on Blu-ray, the Blu-ray DVD combo, but yeah, I just wanted to catch up since we had Disney Plus. I set it up downstairs on the projector, and I was catching up on all of them. I still have 2 more to watch, I think. Yeah, I think I only have 2 more left to watch. But of course, because the issue with rights with Spider-Man was between Sony and Disney, Spider-Man Homecoming was not on the service. There were 2 other that I had to watch on Netflix as well, just because they weren't coming till August or whatever. It's they're not all there. But I went ahead and ordered, because I got it for $8, brand new, the Blu-ray DVD combo of Spider-Man Homecoming, since that wasn't on there, and I wanted it anyway, so I went ahead and grabbed this, and I absolutely loved this movie. This is fantastic. It wasn't my favorite so far of all the Marvel movies. I will talk about them once I'm finished watching them all, but it's definitely up there. It was one of my favorites, because I think a lot of people really like the Marvel movies once they end up being big and dramatic and just these huge spectacles. And for me, I really prefer the ones that are a little more simple, a little more comedy focused, but still have those great dramatic elements and still have likable, believable characters. Like something like Ant-Man I prefer over some of the bigger, later, massive blockbuster ones. Something that's a little bit more simple, a little less end-of-the-world scenario. And that's kind of where this fit in, but better than most of those. Spider-Man Homecoming was fantastic. I've always liked Spider-Man. I loved especially the 90s cartoon. But this, as far as live-action Spider-Man, this is probably my favorite overall, as far as the live-action Spider-Man movies. Again, I haven't watched the one that comes, I forget what it's called, but the one that comes after Endgame. I haven't watched that yet, because I haven't watched Endgame. But so far, this is probably my favorite live-action Spider-Man movie. I really like that, even more than the Sam Raimi ones, which I always enjoyed. Another one that was a big surprise that Amanda and I actually did go see in theaters, and this was more I wanted to grab it for Amanda. That was kind of a surprise. I didn't let her know that I ordered it. I pre-ordered it because she loved this movie. I liked it. She loved it when we saw it in theaters. But Sonic the Hedgehog, this was a big surprise because I really didn't expect too much from this movie. I thought it was just going to be just kind of okay. I did enjoy something like Detective Pikachu, and I'd heard great reviews about it, but I was just kind of on the fence and wasn't expecting too much. But they did a really good job. It was fantastic. Jim Carrey was great. He was another one I wasn't quite certain about him in the role, but he did a fantastic job. And yeah, I just thought it was a really surprisingly good movie. I had a great time with it. It was just a fun, funny kids, adventure flick. It really pulled off being modern and nostalgically 90s at the same time without going too far either direction. But yeah, this has the slipcover, this edition, Blu-ray and DVD combo, and the comic book. So I was happy that I pre-ordered that because Amanda loved it. I definitely liked it. It has decent special features. We had a lot of fun one evening just rewatching the movie after having seen it in theaters months ago and going through all of the different special features, and it's just a great, fun movie. I definitely want to suggest, if you missed that in theaters, check it out if you're kind of on the fence about whether or not you think it's just going to be like a mediocre, just kind of goofy kids movie. It actually was a lot of fun. And the last one here is a DVD pickup, and for my Marilyn Monroe collection. We have the documentary Marilyn Monroe: The Final Days. This is the edition. It's been reprinted a couple times. This is from the Marilyn Monroe Diamond collection. And Amanda and I sat and watched this last night. She was disappointed because she thought that it was more about the theories around her death and whether or not she was actually murdered and how involved were the Kennedys and that kind of stuff. And it was actually more just about her final uncompleted picture and the moments leading up to her death, and not getting involved in the conspiracy elements. And there are whole documentaries devoted to that, and I just finished reading an entire book, Marilyn Monroe, The Case for Murder, and that was fantastic, and that was probably one of the best of all those I've ever read. Very detailed, and there was just so much in there that was a great read. But this is definitely more just about the filming of Something's Got to Give, her uncompleted picture before her death, and everything involving that, and it was absolutely enthralling. I thought it was just a fascinating look at the final project before her death and the final months leading up to her death, and just an interesting documentary, one that I really enjoyed. And I also liked it because I am a big fan of My Favorite Wife, the original Cary Grant version that they were remaking for this movie. So knowing that movie very well and seeing what they were refilming, how they were doing, that was pretty interesting. And what's cool about this is that it also includes, right after the documentary, it rolls right into the footage that they actually did have of that movie from when they were filming it, because it was not completed. You know, there was a big story about what happened during the filming of that movie, but there was some surviving footage, a decent amount of surviving footage in the vaults at Fox, and it was pieced together as if it were a movie. It goes through, and it's kind of a very choppy, lots of scenes missing, very short version of what the movie was going to be, but it gives you an idea based on what they had filmed of what it was going to be like, and how the movie would have come together. And that was a very interesting extra, especially after watching the whole documentary and getting such an interesting look at what was going on during the filming of that incomplete movie, to then see the incomplete pieces put together at the end, trying to make a little bit of a movie out of it, make a little bit of sense of what was actually left of, in the vaults of what was filmed. So that was a great documentary. I really enjoyed that one, a lot of fun, and I definitely wanted that edition in particular. So those are my most recent pickups for different video formats, and again, there are going to be a few more videos I'll be filming today coming along in the next week or so.